We begin with the looming deadline President Trump set for Iran. His warning today, a whole civilization could die tonight unless Iran agrees to reopen the critical Strait of Hormuz. The president added in the social media post that maybe something revolutionary wonderful can happen, but who knows? We will find out tonight. Now, Arwisha Zhang asked the president about what it will take to avert that threat.
In order for Iran to successfully meet your deadline tomorrow, do they have to make a deal, open the strait, or both?
We have to have a deal that's acceptable to me. And part of that deal is going to be we want free traffic of oil and everything else.
Meanwhile, Iran's regime is calling on civilians to form human chains around the country's power plants. The country's president took to social media just a short time ago, and he declared that he and 14 million other Iranians are ready to sacrifice their lives for Iran. We have team coverage of these developments. Standing by is CBS News senior foreign correspondent MTS Taya. But let's start with our White House reporter, Olivia Rinaldi. Olivia, President Trump is ramping up the rhetoric this morning, but says Iran is negotiating in good faith. So what more can you tell us about that?
Well, Mugo, he certainly is ramping up the rhetoric. At 8 a.m. this morning, he posted that Truth Social saying an entire civilization will die tonight. It will never to be brought back again. This is, of course, the president making that threat that if there is no deal tonight, if the Strait of Hormuz is not reopened, he is going to start bombing their bridges and their power plants. The president saying that that is a threat he is willing to make good on, even as there are questions about the legality of it, given the fact that that is civilian infrastructure, and intentional targeting of civilian infrastructure can amount to a war crime if this White House does not say what exactly the nexus is between some of those bridges and power plants and the military targets. So quite notable there. We also learned that the U.S. and Israel have started bombing Karg Island. We heard from Vice President Vance earlier today saying that was always the plan, so it doesn't amount to a change in posture. However, it is notable because that is where 90% of Iran's oil has to go through. It's a very crucial island for them and their energy supply. So that amounts to somewhat of a threat that the U.S. is willing to continue ramping up. Those two data points show that this president is serious about his threat for tonight. But of course, there is still some 10 hours or so, 9 hours or so until we meet that 8 p.m. deadline. So we are waiting to see what, if any, negotiations are happening between the U.S. and Iran. We should also note that Vice President Vance is the one having some of those conversations, and he's in Hungary today. So he's not even here at the White House to have those close conversations with the president, though we do know he is in touch with the administration pretty consistently. But again, Mugo, just time will tell if a deal is made in the next several hours.
Yeah, Olivia, I want to go back just a bit because yesterday we talked about the president and his post, the post he made on Easter Sunday. We talked about criticism around that. Have we heard anything so far? Because it's kind of jarring to hear the president of the United States basically say a whole civilization will die tonight.
Yeah, the president had that press conference yesterday where he was asked really what's off limits, right? Is it civilian infrastructure? He said very little is off limits to him. He was also asked, you know, the point of the negotiations that started happening between the U.S. and Iran back in February were happening because there were mass protests inside of Iran where the regime had killed nearly 40,000 people inside of Iran protesting. So the question that got posed to the president yesterday was, these are people who you say have nothing to do with the regime, who are beholden to the regime. But if you start attacking that infrastructure, are you not hurting them? And he went on to say that no, he doesn't believe that, and that they actually have been telling the U.S., they have intercepted communications where Iranians have been telling the U.S. to continue bombing. Now, we have not seen that evidence. We have not seen those communications. But certainly notable that the president's saying that this is something that the will of the people of Iran really want. Although, as you pointed out in your intro, the president says that 14 million people inside of Iran, a country of 93 million people, have volunteered to fight in this war as it is ongoing. So notable there from the president that he says he does have the support of the Iranian people while threatening to bomb their infrastructure.
Right, which they need to live their daily life. Olivia, let's talk about what you mentioned earlier, Karg Island. We know U.S. forces have hit military targets on Iran's Karg Island. Can you talk about what that could signify?
Well, could potentially be an escalation, but as we heard from the vice president, he says that was always the plan, which I thought was pretty revealing for him to say. But it's a very small island, it's not very big, and these were targeted strikes that hit some of the military strikes, the military goals from earlier in March when they were hit and struck there, which was an escalation back then, still remains an escalation today for them to continue hitting that infrastructure. They did not hit any of the oil or energy infrastructure, we're told, at least not intentionally. But certainly at this point, as the U.S. continues to hit, and Israel as well, continues to hit targets inside of Iran, any of it amounts to an escalation, especially with the president's escalating rhetoric on Truth Social.
Right. Okay. Olivia Rinaldi outside the White House for us today, as always. Thank you so much. And now let's turn to CBS News senior foreign correspondent MTS Taib, who's live in Doha for us today. MTS, Iran is asking civilians to put themselves in the path of possible U.S. attacks. Could that give the U.S. pause in all this, and what could come next?
Yeah, we've heard from the Iranian president, Masoud Pezeshkian, in that social media post, which I'll read back out again, in which he says, and I'm quoting here, over 14 million proud Iranians have, up to this moment, declared their readiness to sacrifice their lives in defense of Iran. I too have been, am, and will be a sacrificer for Iran. We have to remember Iran is a country of 90 million people. It is 2.5 times the size of Texas. It is a country which has thousands of years of history. And I think what the Iranian president is evoking here is that we know many Iranians are very unhappy with their leadership. Some outright hate their leadership, but they have now been under U.S. and Israeli bombardment into the 6th week. And now we're hearing and reading that tweet from President Trump about destroying their civilization, killing their civilization. Many Iranians who had hoped that this could see a change in their country now feel like this is a war being perpetrated against them and their country. And while, yes, again, I want to keep reiterating, there are many people in Iran who absolutely are opposed to their leadership, opposed to the entire system in which they believe have been so oppressive to them for so long, will stand up, I think, and will try to defend what they see as the basis of their country, of their nation. That 14 million number, none of us can verify that if that's going to be something that we're actually going to see materialize, but I think it really just underscores the fact that the people of Iran remain under extraordinary threat as this war continues. Now, some are also accusing the Iranian leadership of using civilians as effectively human shields, but whatever the case, we are looking at war crimes upon potential war crimes. The targeting of civilian infrastructures is illegal under international law. The use of human shields is also illegal under international law. So a very dire situation we're seeing tonight in Iran.
And MTS, I want to dive deeper into what you said earlier. We know many Iranians, they wanted regime change, and they even welcomed President Trump's support. But if the president follows through on his threat, would that change the support he's received from those Iranians?
I think we're already seeing it, if I'm really honest with you. It has been extraordinarily difficult to get information outside of Iran. We have to remember this is a country which is not under bombardment. It has also seen its internet effectively shut off by its leadership. And that really has made it incredibly difficult for us to get a real sense of what's happening on the ground inside Iran. We are still able to contact some people. We're able to get information in dribs and drabs. And it does seem that many Iranians are feeling that maybe this war could have seen the leadership in which many want to see gone have weakened, but others now see it as they are alone, and that the U.S. and Israeli strikes have targeted far too many civilian sites, and they find it hard to see how this is going to help them with their liberation. And so one would imagine if President Trump's threats do materialize overnight, and we do see that Iran's power infrastructure is effectively obliterated, we see more bridges being destroyed, many Iranians will see that as a war on them, and I suspect that that'll harden their support against any attempts to try to dislodge this leadership, which so many have been calling to be removed for so long.
Okay, MTS Taib in Doha for us today. Thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it.